That's it. I've had it with this dump. We got no food. We got no jobs. Our pets' heads are falling off.
So I used to think Greg Pak was a good writer in a creative funk, but I'm slowly but surely coming around to the fact that Planet Hulk was an absolute fluke. Sure, he's written a few comics since then, but a vast majority of his books are much closer in quality to War of the Realms tie-in, New Agents of Atlas #1. An absolute embarrassment of Squirrel Girl proportions. I bought this book in a $12 special variant cover because of the introduction of Wave, a new Filipino superhero. I live in the Philippines with my Filipino wife, right next door to my in-laws. I showed a picture of this cover before buying it to my sister-in-law. She immediately asked if it was Wave. She has little to no interest in comics, and this was the first character she's ever recognized that wasn't in the MCU. Somehow, despite a relatively small comic community in the Philippines, Wave pierced public awareness and was an opportunity to possibly grow interest in Marvel Comics. An opportunity absolutely wasted. Wave is in all of 5 pages in this comic and does nothing super or heroic. I feel like an absolute dunce and won't be throwing any extra money down on Marvel variant covers in the near or distant future. New Agents of Atlas features 9 heroes in total. 4 we already know: Ms. Marvel, Silk, Gogurt Hulk, and Shang-Chi. The issue introduces readers to 5 new Asian heroes, all female. That's not the only thing that stands out on the new team. It features heroes from Korean, Japanese, Chinese, Filipino, and Pakistani descent. One of these things is not like the others. Why is it Western media and entertainment are so intent on lumping people of Middle Eastern descent with people from the Far East nowadays? Culturally, they aren't related at all. I know Pakistan is technically in Asia, but so is half of Russia, including Lake Baikal, the hometown of Colossus. Yet nobody ever tries to identify Russians as Asian or Colossus as an Asian superhero. Technically, he's the best known Asian superhero in all of Marvel Comics. Why isn't he on this book? It's almost like there's some weird ulterior motive for these new groupings that make no sense. The Middle East is a large region that people all over the world recognize. Culturally, it makes sense that they're grouped together. Yet media and entertainment insist on identifying them as Asian now. It's kind of confusing. Let's table that thought. This is a comic review, and this shit show deserves some TLC. Wave gets the lamest introduction in comic book history. She confronts a new Chinese superhero, AERO, over territorial waters. Congratulations, Greg Pak. You've read a few articles on CNN. And this is basically the extent of these 2 new heroes' appearances until the last page. Did I mention I won't be fooled with Marvel variant covers again? Ms. Marvel, Silk, Gogurt Hulk, and Shang-Chi put on a demo for Jimmy Woo and his students at the Pan-Asian School for the Unusually Gifted, which I guess is Marvel's Asian Xavier Institute. We get classic SJW comic tropes, including a wonderful selfie from Silk. Don't worry, she'll be embarrassed worse later. The art in this book is fine, but doesn't leave an impression other than this illustration of Shang-Chi. Is he fat here, or is he preggers? I'm genuinely confused. Moving on. The established heroes have dinner with Jimmy Woo at his Lucky Jimmy's Dim Sum Palace. Of course, exposition during a meal is another classic SJW trope. I'm sure hipsters across America are creaming their pants thinking about chicken claws and roast pork buns looking at this picture. This is probably the worst page in the entire comic. Jimmy Woo, the Dim Sum King himself, uses a pear to teach the team members to put their differences aside. See, everyone identifies it as a Chinese pear, Korean pear, or Japanese pear, depending on where they're from. Silk even knows it can't be a Chinese pear because theirs are more oblong. See, it's just a pear, and all those preconceived differences in the pear depending on its origin don't really exist. Jimmy Woo is no Mr. Miyagi, and his teaching methods will not stand the test of time. This comic is an even worse joke than the event it ties into. I don't really read Ms. Marvel or Champions, but I am aware Ms. Marvel is the leader. After reading this issue, I have to ask why. She is a terrible leader that holds grudges. She's apparently still upset Gogurt and Spider-Man weren't truthful with her at one point. She even criticizes the stupid way he acts about everything. I've managed plenty of stupid people in my day. I can tell you calling them stupid in front of their peers is not how to gain trust or grow them out of their stupidity. She even goads him, saying she'll put him in charge of the champions, knowing he tried to take over the world last time that happened. She comes off as shallow and vindictive. Terrible traits in a leader. Don't worry, she does Gogurt worse a bit later. This has to be the most illogical sequence in the issue. The team sees the destruction of New York during issue 1 of War of the Realms. Wu asks Gogurt, "What's that look like to you?" He responds, some kind of interdimensional breach like the Asgardians' Rainbow Bridge, but this is a different kind of energy. Sure, if you say so, Chief. I suspend a lot of reality reading comics, but I don't think for a second anyone can identify alien energy sources through a TV monitor. Although Gogurt does remind everyone he has the 8th biggest brain on the planet. Whatever makes you feel better, Broseph. Jimmy Woo announces they're all agents of Atlas now and are heading to Korea. Miss Marvel decides, now that the world is ending, it's time to really do Gogurt dirty and kill his confidence. Kamala explains she's heading to join the champions and Gogurt is to join Jimmy's team. Gogurt asks if he has a choice. Miss Marvel, the leader of the team Gogurt is a proud member of, explains he's Jimmy's problem now. Gogurt would have been justified ripping her arms off and beating her to death with them, in my opinion. Later we meet Korean hero Whitefox. She stands behind a little girl who fends off fiery enemies with a stick and explains we've dealt with invaders and colonizers for centuries. I'm assuming this is a swipe at America. Westerners are the only people I ever hear disparaged with the C word. Funny enough, America saved all of South Korea from North Korean rule with the most daring landing since D-Day in World War II. If you've never heard of the Incheon landing, I suggest you read up on it. The balls it took to plan a landing that dangerous and the skill to execute it are almost unbelievable. Of course, America can't leave the peninsula now because it would immediately result in a large-scale Pacific War. The US presence is literally the only thing keeping North Korea at bay. Moving on. When Danby, the Taekwondo prodigy hero, appeared, I was a bit confused. She's obviously a Korean hero. Taekwondo is a Korean martial art. For some reason, I didn't know there are bears in Korea. Apparently, Korea is home to the endangered Asiatic black bear. You learn something new every day. The final new Korean hero reveal is Luna Snow, and apparently she's a K-pop superhero. The House of Ideas, am I right? I'm honestly surprised she doesn't throw up a Korean peace sign when she's executing her powers. Silk, supposedly a veteran superhero herself, can't contain her excitement at seeing the K-pop star in the middle of an enormous battle to save the world. Whatever. Gogurt decides he has to help the K-pop phenom against the wishes of Atlas leader Jimmy Woo, subsequently crashing the plane and possibly killing Jimmy. Maybe Miss Marvel was right to ditch him at the first opportunity. What an insolent fool. The only part of this book I actually like is Whitefox's reaction to seeing Gogurt enter the battlefield. She recognizes he tried to take over America by force at one point. She believes he must be in cahoots with the fire demons. Makes sense to me. The battlefield is chaos because the heroes can't work as a team. They didn't take Wu's parable of the pair to heart. Queen Sindr laughs at the heroes' dysfunction and declares Asia as a new Muspelheim. Wave finally shows up again and does absolutely nothing. Did I mention I won't be fooled by Marvel variant covers again? This book absolutely sucks. The end. I just learned on social media about the fake issue 1000 announcement from CB Cebulski. Please join Doc, Pele, Ashon Comics, and myself as we discuss this fiasco and more nerd shit this Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. More details will be released later. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. I would appreciate it very much. It helps us attract more views for the channel. Subscribe for future commentary, comic book news, and reviews. And don't forget to ring the bell for notifications. If you want to talk comics, movies, and much, much more, you can follow me on Twitter at Wes_from_TC. With that, Salamat po, and I'm out.